In this video, we'll talk about the new national interest exceptions to the two proclamations banning professionals from coming into the United States. This is something that was released this week, and we're going to break it down in this video, who qualifies and how can you apply for this. So watch this video and I'll see you on the other side. In this video, we'll talk about the new expanded list of exceptions to the proclamation ban on entry to the United States for those that are coming here to work and join their loved ones. As you know, we had two proclamations. One was in April and the other one was in June, and both had a long list of people that are banned to come to the United States. And under the exceptions that were issued this week, we have some interesting developments, and I'm going to go over this in this video, and we'll go through different classes of visas who are exempt based on the national interest exception. But before that, if you're here for the first time, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, click that bell to be notified of new videos. As you know, we release videos every single week. And also, give it a big like so YouTube is going to be able to share the video with other people just like you that are interested in this content. Once again, if you're here for the first time, my name is Jacob Sapochnick, and I'm an immigration attorney. I'm located right here in San Diego, California, but we service clients in all 50 states, and we provide these updates for you every single week. So let's dive right in. So by way of introduction, as you know, we had the original proclamation that was issued in April 23rd that suspended a large class of mostly family petitions and a few employment-based petitions. And then we had the proclamation of June 22nd that expanded the ban on people that are coming here on H1B visas, H2B visas, L visas, and J1 visas. And it was a pretty extensive list of restrictions as to who can come and when they can come if they had those visas. And then there was, in that particular proclamation of June 22nd, they had a provision that certain individuals can apply for an exception under a national interest exception. And again, under the original proclamation, that exception was very narrow. It had to apply to people in the medical field, and also specifically if they're coming to perform a job in the national interest of the United States, which was a very general statement. And now, about a month or so after this proclamation, we are here now almost the middle of August. We received this week a very expanded list of exceptions, which I'm going to go over it, which basically details the different classes of visas, who can qualify for this national interest exception, and how they can apply for it. So before we go into the list of exceptions, it is important to understand that if you qualify for, under this exception, you still have to do the following. You still have to email your embassy and request an expedited emergency appointment, first of all. If you don't, you're not going to be able to apply under these exceptions because these exceptions are not granted to you automatically. You actually have to apply and show that you qualify. So the first thing that you have to do, and again, we're going to link the statement, the announcement from the State Department in the description of this video, so you'll be able to read yourself as well the different classes. But it's really important for you to understand that if you do meet the requirements, if you do meet the exceptions, the first thing that you have to do is apply for an emergency expedited appointment at your particular embassy. You do so by email, and once you get that appointment, then you have to establish how you qualify under the national interest exceptions that I'm going to be listing to you and explaining to you right now in this video. So remember that even if you think that you qualify, you still have to email your individual embassy and request the expedited appointment to be able to qualify for these exceptions. So let's run now and discuss those exceptions. So for H1B visa specifically, one of the exceptions is listed as somebody who's coming back to work as a healthcare professional or somebody who's coming to work in the healthcare industry. So that's already an exception that if you can prove that, you can come back and get your visa stamping. Another very important exception, which is new based on this current release, is that H1B employees that are coming back to work in the same position with the same employer when they left the US, those are also qualified under the exception. And as you remember, previously the State Department clarified about a month ago that if the H1B worker was inside the US on the date that the proclamation of June 22nd was signed, and then they left the United States, they are not subject to the proclamation and they can go back and apply for a visa. This expanded rule of exceptions also clarifies that if this H1B is coming back to work for the same position with the same employer, they also qualify under the national interest exception, as was released in the guidelines this week. The reason why it's important is because if such H1B workers are not able to come back to the United States, the employers are going to be suffering financial hardship trying to find a specialized replacement like those H1B workers, and therefore it's important. Another exception is H1B workers with technical skills, senior managers, and those that are coming back to the United States to help in the continued recovery of our economy. Those are also, if you can show that, again, if you're coming to, if you have a senior management position or you have a particular technical skill, I don't think it's going to be that difficult to prove that you're coming back to work in an essential capacity. All you need is a document from your company to stress those facts, and I believe that those exceptions are going to be granted fairly easily. Also, they're stating in the exceptions that as long as the H1B worker can prove that their wages are definitely beyond the prevailing wage, which is basically the basic wage that H1B workers need to be paid, then they also should be able to come into the United States to join their employer. And again, that's not that hard to prove. Again, the full list of exceptions for H1B is going to be linked in this video, but I wanted to kind of highlight the main ones. And I think in my mind, the main one is that those employees that are coming back to join an existing employer in the same position should be fairly easy to prove, and they're going to be able to get their visas. For H2B workers, the main exception is that those are coming back to the United States to help facilitate the economical recovery of the United States. And again, I don't think it's going to be that hard to show it, getting a letter from employer, proving the need and things like that. So again, H2B workers also have a very broad exception, and I think it's going to be really important because a lot of employers are hurting right now. They need seasonal workers, and those exceptions are definitely welcome right now. Next, we move to the J1. As remember, the J1 was hit pretty hard. They limited most of the J1s except if they were scholars or researchers. And now these exceptions open it up again to pretty much all J1s. For au pairs have to show that they're coming to work with childcare, maybe kids with special needs or certain requirements. And I think that's going to help get more au pairs back in here. For interns and trainees, they opened that up as well for exceptions. If they can show that they're coming to join companies that are involved in the economic recovery of the United States. Again, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward to apply for those exceptions. And one big one is for teachers. Teachers were completely barred under the original rules, and now teachers, if they can prove that they're specialized teachers, so typically if they speak more than one language and things like that, they could also qualify for an exception, which is huge because a lot of schools are hurting for J1 teachers, and that could open the door for a lot of these teachers to come back. So we are excited about that exception as well. When it comes for L1 applicants, once again, they were pretty limited before, and it created a lot of issues with the government violating the WTO treaties. So once again, for L1, we have a very broad exception as well. If they're coming to work in the same position with the same company, they're also able to get their L1 stamped. Also, if they're coming to work and improve the national security, national interest of the United States, they're also going to be able to come and get their exception. And once again, you can read the full list of exceptions in the link in the description of this video. But again, essentially, with this broad exception, almost every L1 that needs to get a visa stamping, as long as they can get an expedited appointment, I don't see a reason why they won't be able to come to the United States, which is amazing because right now we have a lot of multinationals that have been very upset about it, and I think this is going to open up the door for more people to be able to come and apply. With respect to L2, H4 dependents, the same rules apply. If their principals are going to get visas, dependents are going to be allowed to use the same exception and follow them as well. And one more thing for family members, if you remember on the original proclamation, there were people that were going to be age out. Under this exception, if there are family members that are going to be aging out, or there's a risk of age out, they also can request an emergency appointment and try to come in as an exception. And that was stated at the bottom of the update. You can see it as well. So if there's an age out risk for a child under the age of 21, they can also apply under these expanded exceptions. Again, this is now official in the exceptions because before it was only a matter of policy. Now, if you look at this thing, if you look at these exceptions and why they came at this time, it's pretty interesting because remember, as I mentioned in the previous video, when I give you an update about the litigation, and the video is going to be linked also in the description of this video, there's a huge litigation coming up August 27. There's going to be a big hearing. Why are they doing this now, right? It's pretty interesting, right? So all these exceptions suddenly are open now, and more people can come and not subject to the ban. So it's pretty interesting why they're doing now, just weeks before this big hearing that can be ruling whether there's going to be an injunction on this ban. And maybe they're trying to say, well, we gave them all these exceptions. There's already really no need for this injunction because there's so many people who can still come in. We think that they're doing all these exceptions to try to hurt the litigation because they say, well, litigation should be moot because we gave them all these exceptions. So we'll see what happens. But the reality is that this is happening right now. There are a lot of exceptions, national interest exception, as I outlined in this video. People can apply. People who are stuck abroad right now should be able to come in right now. But remember, embassies are still closed in most countries. You have to apply for an emergency appointment to be able to qualify for under these exceptions, as I mentioned in this video. And once again, if you're here for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our updates. Like today, this just came out today and I updated it literally today. The video was released the next day. So make sure you subscribe, give us that big like. And also, please join our Facebook group where we have a link here as well. The group where we share information. We have a lot of people that are also having these issues and they're sharing their concerns, and a safe place for you guys to learn about immigration and get up to date with the recent updates. So once again, thanks for watching and I'll see you in our next video.